And I have some great co-presenters with me today to help maybe match some faces to some names. So let me do a few introductions as we go ahead and get started. I think some of our other folks may be jumping on shortly. So one of the first people that you might interact with in the facilities management department is Dawn Reed. Dawn is our customer service coordinator. She is the smiling, happy face at the front office if you come visit facilities planning and management. And Dawn is primarily responsible for keys, and we'll talk a little bit about the key process and what that does today as we go through the services that facilities planning and management provides. Jody Buckley is also with us. Jody is the lead in the Facility Service Center. Those are the folks that take all your calls. Also, as we go through this, couple things. If you have questions at any time, go ahead and put the questions in the Q&A. I'm going to ask you questions because I like to interact. And so you can put your answers or in the chat so I can know. But just for anybody, if you can just guess, how many work orders do you think facilities management processes on average each month? So go ahead and put your guess in the chat. I don't have any prizes I can throw at you, but oh gosh, no. Angela Garcia, thank goodness it's not 1,000. Yes, thank you. No, Terry, we feel that busy, but no, it's not that high. We do about 100 new work orders every month. So about 1,200 work orders a year is what we see. Now, those work orders range from things like changing a light bulb to like building a wall. So there's a lot of variation in what those work orders are, but we do get a lot of work orders that come through our Facility Service Center. And Jody Buckley and her team, including Gina Hopkins and Teresita McLucky, are the ones that respond to you when you're putting in those work orders or help us get those work orders created. We also have some of the management team on the call today and wanted to just highlight some of those folks. So first I'll start in custodial services. Herbert Johnson is our custodial manager. Herbert has been with the campus for a long time and actually is an alum of the campus, right, Herbert? So Coyote to the bone. Okay, and then our assistant custodial manager is Albina Guzman. Albina just joined us. We stole her from Fullerton. I'm not shy. I'm just going to say we are so lucky to have Albina on our team as well. And then to just round out the group here, we have Jesse Ochoa. Jesse is the chief engineer on campus, and so he's responsible for all things hot and cold. So if you are hot or cold or something's going on with your ventilation, Jesse and his team over at the heating and air plant are the ones that respond to those things and try to keep us all comfortable. That is not an easy task, and so certainly on this rainy Friday and maybe 90-degree Sunday, it will be an interesting weekend as we go through the spring. And then last but not least, Walter Elliott, whom some of you may know as he was our former landscape and fleet manager. Walter is now our building maintenance manager, and so he's transitioned in that role, and we're really lucky to have him there. Just really quickly, there's a lot of cool places on campus that probably nobody has seen. And so behind me in my my background is actually our central plant, which I geek out on. Jesse also thinks it looks cool. You may not, but anyway, we just wanted to share some places that you may not have been on campus. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so somebody may need to give me a thumbs up. Make sure you can see what I see. We're going to go. Thank you. I love it. All right, so here's what we're going to do in the next just few minutes. I'm going to try and give as much time as possible for you folks to ask questions. And so we'll start with, we'll talk a little bit about what facilities management is, or maybe what it isn't. Talking about how you can request our services, the difference between a work order and a project and what that means, why sometimes you get billed for our services. You know, nobody wants a bill. Why am I getting a bill? We'll talk about major capital projects, so the big buildings as well as tenant improvements, and then where you can go for additional resources for our groups. So this is a quick video. Let's see if this works. Okay, so hopefully that gives like a little bit of all the different stuff that we get involved in, but there's a lot of stuff, and I will probably forget somebody and get in trouble later, but let me just kind of give a rundown of facilities management. So within facilities planning and management, we have a couple of different areas. One is facilities management. These are the folks that maintain the built environment on campus, right? What's already here. And that's your building maintenance team. As I mentioned, Walter is the manager over that group. We have custodial services, who's cleaning your spaces, helping with disposal of large bulky items, all of those kinds of things. Heating and air conditioning is through the plant and Jesse with Jesse's leadership. Landscape and fleet management, those are the folks that maintain the over 400 acres that we have here at the San Bernardino campus, as well as the space out at the Palm Desert campus. And then facility access control, the locksmiths. How do I even just get into my building? How do I make sure it's locked when I leave? Those kinds of things. In the planning, design, and construction department, we do have, that is a separate department within facilities planning and management that really is looking at building new stuff, whether it's a tenant improvement where we want to add walls, move doors, change existing buildings, or if we're doing a complete, new building, like the Performing Arts Theater that's under construction now, or some of you, if you're not too new to campus, you might know that Student Union North expansion has recently been completed, CGI, and the Coyote Commons are all projects that this team has worked on over the course of the 7 years I've been on campus. So just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about the different services and how do I get service. So these are some of the things wanted to make sure that everybody on campus knows. Anyone on our campus can put in a work order, whether you're a student, faculty, staff, whomever. You can access our work order system, and I'll show you kind of how to do that. But these are work orders, or I'm sorry, work requests are used to request maintenance services. So if you have things like lights out, maybe cleaning got skipped in your area for some reason, you've got a building issue of any sort, a leak, a smell, whatever. Those are all work requests that go into our work order management system that's accessed through myCoyote. We also have a key request system called Simple K. That's also available through myCoyote. This is a system that you have to be approved to be a key requester, because it's a little bit more complicated than just telling us what's broken and that we need it fixed. On the key request side, we do have specific folks in departments that are assigned to put in key requests. They're used to request building access. That may be a hard key or electronic access. And then we also, some of the services that we help with is car rental. And this has, the pandemic really impacted the car rental and the enterprise program on campus. But Enterprise does have a system where you can reserve a car. They will bring it to the campus. It gets parked out by facilities management. The keys get dropped off. You can collect those keys from our department and then take your rental car for your day or whatever, and then return it here as well. So that's pretty convenient for the campus community. If you don't know about that program, there's more information on the website. And then Space requests is another one that we get often where folks are trying to find space for a new program or new project. And I'm going to talk about our website a little bit later. So here's what you're going to see. If you go to My Coyote, you'll see a little wrench icon that under the admin tab. And so that wrench icon will take you to WebTMA. And so once you click there, you will be brought to this request form. And basically, it's going to auto-populate some things. It's going to know who you are and your phone number, your email, things like that, your department. That will be all auto-populated, as well as the account number that's associated with your department. This is all information that TMA pulls from PeopleSoft to bring into our system. Then in the action requested, you can put as much or as little information. We want you to put as much information as possible. For example, you could put in there, the outlet in my office doesn't work, okay? If you wrote that, I know who you are, so now I have to call you to find out where your office is, and then we can figure out which outlet it is. So you want to be pretty specific about it's in, and you also have to fill out building name and room number. That helps us get to the right place. There are over 2 million square feet of campus buildings on the San Bernardino campus. And so there's a lot of spaces. So if you just tell me that the toilet's broken, even if you told me the building, that might not narrow it down for us. So be as specific as you can, because that's going to get the service team out there as fast as we can, okay? And so those are kind of the important information here. If you're talking about a Palm Desert issue, then you use the same process, but instead you would go to the facility name would be the Palm Desert campus. Right here, you can change that from, it defaults to San Bernardino, so you would have to go in and just change it to Palm Desert. All right, and then if the request is for a vehicle, then you're going to need to know the vehicle number. That number is located on the vehicle, usually on the bumper. But if you don't know your vehicle number for the department, you can also call us and we can help you with that. And again, that is just to help us with the information so that we can narrow it down. There are over 100 vehicles that belong to the campus, and actually it's probably closer to 200 at this point. And so we want to make sure that we know exactly which vehicle you're talking about. Some of your departments do have multiple of the same kind of vehicle. So even if you told us it's the Suburban, we might not know. So that's a little bit on the vehicles. Okay. So this is often confusing for folks. What's the difference between a work order or a work request and a project? So just wanted to kind of outline that for you a little bit. When we're talking about a work request, like I just showed you in the TMA system, remember it's the wrench on the picture in your My Coyote. We're talking about routine work. This is something that is in your physical space and is broken. For example, maybe it's your window, maybe your light fixture's not coming on, there's a hole in the wall, things like that, existing physical space, and there's something wrong with it. It could also include custodial requests and grounds requests. It is typically trade specific. When I say that, so if you think about a light bulb, that might be an issue for the electricians, but it's only the electricians. If you have a situation where you want to move an outlet, hang a picture, paint a wall, and do something else, those are multiple trades at that point. So we really are looking for work orders to be more of a trade specific, and it is typically located in one space. Now you can put work orders, hey, I do this all the time and they love me. I put in work orders that say, can you please check all the exterior lights on campus wide, right? But for most of you, when you're putting in work orders, it's not like a campus wide thing, it's more of something very specific to a location. When we talk about projects, again, this is multiple trades or various phases of a project. So if, say, you're moving a group out of one area into another, then you want to paint, then a new faculty is coming in there. That is more of a project because there might be phases to that work. If you're trying to enhance your space, so, we have this space, we're not using it, we'd rather break it into 2 rooms because this is, going to help us be more efficient with our space. Those are projects as well, and they have a lot more layers to them. It could mean especially if we're adding walls, doors, or interfering with exit corridors, that there is fire marshal permitting required, and various other kinds of building permits. Sometimes we have to check structural before we can remove a wall, things like that. So that's projects are around enhancing space. If you want to reassign or renovate space, so if you're moving people around, and certainly if you're changing the function of a space, that really impacts the campus in a lot of different ways. We cannot just turn a classroom into a bunch of offices, or vice versa, because that impacts we report annually to the chancellor's office about how we're using our space. And the space that we have on campus is based on entitlements for the campus. So we want to make sure that we don't jeopardize a future building by doing changes to our existing space that would make it so that that future building was no longer justified or something like that. So that's why when you're trying to reassign space or renovate space, it's really important to pull in facilities planning and management. So, and then again, if your project includes multiple locations, that would also be a project as opposed to a work order. In general, the work orders end up going to facilities management. The projects end up being reviewed by planning, design, and construction. And we will help you figure that out too. So if you put something in a work order that says, I want you to build me a new office, then usually we will kick that over to the planning, design, and construction group. So, and we'll let you know, hey, this is going to be handled by them. So let's talk a little bit about budget and chargebacks, because especially this time of year, as we're trying to get to the close of the fiscal year, we get a lot of questions around this. So thinking campus-wide, so if we're talking about the academic mission of the institution, so our academic buildings, in general, that is what we are funded to maintain through our facilities management budget. So we are funded to maintain what used to be called stateside buildings, right, and academic departments. As far as self-support, we do have to recover our costs when we are doing work in self-support areas. So what is that? Well, those are places like parking, the student union, housing, and the College of Extended and Global Education. So in those cases, those groups get charged back. So it just really depends on where you're working, what gets charged and what doesn't. Now, even in academic departments, you can have projects that will be chargeable, because if they're not maintenance, and say we have a new faculty member that requires a new lab and we're going to remove some lab equipment and renovate a lab space for that new person coming in, that would be billable to the department. So that is a renovation, that's an enhancement, if you will, to the existing building, and it's not considered maintenance. So I know this feels like it's splitting hairs, but this is in an effort to stay in compliance with Executive Order 1000, where we have to recover state funds. All right, so again, the pieces that really determine whether we're billing it or not, is it an improvement versus maintenance, and then is it in a self-support or an academic department? Vehicle maintenance is always charged back. So if you are not familiar with this, all of the campus vehicles are owned by the department on campus and are to be maintained by those departments. So it's very decentralized. So anytime your vehicle needs to come to the auto shop to be maintained, then you would be receiving billing for that. The other one that sometimes people don't understand is event support. So certainly this is coordinated with special events and guest services. And in most cases, typical event support is not billed, but if we have trash that's left out, or we need additional dumpsters or things like that for a particular event, that's where you would start to see chargebacks. And usually when you're setting up your event with special events and guest services, they will let you know, or even if you're doing it at the student union, they will let you know what those fees would be for any additional event support. And then finally, keys. So there are some charges that happen with keys if keys are not returned, if keys are lost or stolen, and we have to rekey. That responsibility usually falls on the department that approved the key request. So know that those could be some additional charges that you would see. All right. There's our friendly neighborhood project manager there. Many of you probably know Carlos Robles. Talking a little bit about capital projects are done a little bit differently. And specifically with capital projects, we do have a 5-year plan that we put together. Every year we update it to receive funding from the Chancellor's office for major capital projects. So that's how we receive funding for the performing arts expansion, for example. Those multi-year plans are available on the Chancellor's office website. If you'd like to see ours, let me know and I can direct you in the right direction. And so our next academic building on that plan would be the what is it? ICE Lab, Integrated Science Lab building, and so probably Sastri's on the call. He'll remind me. We just went through a feasibility study. We're really excited about that project, and so that is the project that we're moving forward to get funding. But we also in that plan put projects like deferred maintenance, so things like roofs. Many of you, as we've gone through this very wet winter, have experienced roof leaks. And so every year we put on our list of projects that we need to do funding or requests for roofing funding so that we can keep our buildings watertight. And so all of those different kinds of either deferred maintenance, energy projects are also in our multi-year plan. And then any renovations or things that we're trying to do. This is a long process, so I always joke that the capital projects team lives about 3 years from now. So I work today, and if I want something done today, that's the facilities management team because they're working on what's already here. The capital project side of the house really works on where are we going to be in 5 years. And because their process and a capital project, from the time we get funded to the time we're built, is typically 4 to 5 years for a new building coming out of the ground. And so currently we have 2 projects that are funded and underway. One is the Performing Arts Project, which if you're on the San Bernardino campus, you see that moving, that hole got really big and now we've got steel coming out. At the Palm Desert campus, we have been funded for the Student Services Project and we are in design for that project. So you don't see us digging in the dirt just yet. The design and permitting process is usually the first 18 to 24 months of a project. And then we transition into really the shovel in the ground and literally seeing that hole being dug. And so that, again, depending on the size of the building, the utilities that have to be tied in, all of that, that's another 18 to 24 months. So it's about 4 to 5 years to get from the funding of a project all the way to we're moving in and cutting a ribbon. And so you can kind of see some pictures. I think that's the student union when it was a hole in the ground a few years ago. So there's a lot of places you can get more information. I really wanted to use this time together with you just to find out what questions you might have, any frustrations that you have with facilities management or trying to get services from our department so that we're always looking to get better. This is our website, and so you are able to go in here. There's also a link, and I'm not seeing it right here, so maybe I'm wrong, but I believe there's a link to our survey. So we do have an ongoing customer satisfaction survey. So if you put in work orders at the end of the email you get that says, your work order is complete, there's a link to that survey. We'd love to hear back from you. And then, oh, here it is. It says, tell us how we're doing on our website. You can click that button and also get to that survey. And please just let us know. What went well, what didn't. Usually by the time you all are calling us, it's because you're really frustrated because something's broken. And so we want to help and get out there as soon as we can and get you back up and running so that you don't have to think about those things. So again, if you need more information, there's a lot of information on our website. Under forms and documents, you can, as long as you're logged in to the campus system, you can see all of the floor plans. So if you're looking for a floor plan of your building, you want to see what it looks like, that's under forms and documents. You can also find out about campus disruptions. And so right now it'll talk to you about the big hole in the ground at the front of campus at Performing Arts. Another thing that I want to bring to your attention before I open it up for questions, on the campus map, There is a lot of information. If you guys, I know if you've been on campus for very long, you probably know your way around. But on the campus map, there is, and maybe I'll just go to it. Let's see if I can get there. I just want to bring to your attention that you can go here and click on construction. And that will tell you where we have fencing and construction, and you can even drill down and it'll tell you kind of a little bit more about it. So that's the construction tab. If you go to inclusive services here, I can click on that and that tells me where all of our all gender restrooms are and the lactation rooms for the campus. And I think those were the big ones. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of, but please, oh, and then accessibility is the other one. Oops, that's a little messy. So that talks to you a little bit about where there's accessible parking, ramps, the accessible paths of travel, things like that are located there. So all really great resources. This is huge if you're interacting with people from off campus and you want to kind of help direct them or they have special needs. It's a great resource. So do make use of that. With that, I'm going to stop sharing and see, do we have any questions?
It looks like there's a key question.
Okay.
In regards to, it says with car rentals, will the key drop box be fixed? As far as I know, both boxes are fixed. So yes, you should be able to rent cars and they can bring the keys and the contract up to the front for you to sign and pick up your keys. As far as a departmental key box, I think that's what you're talking about. We would set that up in the office. You would have your MPP send us an email letting us know that you're interested in setting up a key box. And at that time, I will manually set it up and respond with your key box ID number. So when you go to request keys for your key box, you will use that Coyote ID that I will be giving you. I hope that answers your question.
All right, thank you, Dawn. And then I see another question. Are we able to add attachments to the web TMA form? I believe you are, but to be honest, I haven't tried. I got the inside track and I just text him a picture. No, so, but I believe you can attach in the web in your request form. You can attach a photo if you choose to do that, and that's extremely helpful, especially when my office, I'm looking around here, I think I have 5 outlets in my office. So if I've got a problem with one of them, and it's just a simple example, but it's helpful to let the folks know, or if you're not directionally challenged like me, north, south, east wall, whatever, something like that also helps us to kind of find where we're at. It says, is there any time frame for the library's heating and air system to get upgraded? All floors are at different temperatures. The classroom floor, one side is hot, the other is cold. Classrooms suffer when it's hot out. To get the air adjusted, it sometimes takes days. Yeah, let me start with this answer, Jesse, and then if you want to chime in. The library is very challenging. It is on our old control system. We have had this system on our list for funding for many years. We finally have funding, and so Jesse and his team were actually, last I heard, we're out to bid to get a controls upgrade to the campus. So these things will be resolving, but it is very important that if it is hot or cold, you go ahead and let us know, because a lot of times the issue is with our control system where we can't see that you're hot. So the last time it read, it told us you were 72. We're thinking you're 72. Everything looks rosy on our side. And unless you call us, we don't know that you're actually 85. So it's important for us to get that communication back and forth. It is an old system. Not the only old system on campus, but one of the worst, I got to say. And so we're working very hard to get that renovated, and we have some funds for that. So Jesse, did you want to add to?
No, just to add to that. So as of last week, we just recently signed with an engineering firm that will start the design on that project. So thank you, Jenny, for sharing that.
Okay, and then, so hopefully, Melissa, that answered your question. And then I see, can our department work with the city or Caltrans to expedite fixing the potholes? Absolutely. I actually meet with Caltrans, the city of San Bernardino, and several other local agencies quarterly, where we do, we're actually working on the I-215 interchange. So that project is underway and a funded project for Caltrans. But yes, we do. And we also work with parking and transportation. And so Grace Maneri also has contacts with the city of San Bernardino. It's a challenge, but we do notify them when we see that. We also do notify them when we see graffiti in the, we work with the county flood control when there's graffiti in the flood control channel. So unfortunately, we can't just go out and fix those, but we do work with our community partners. And we all drive in as well and appreciate the nonsense that's on North Park right now. So thank you, Brian. I will make a call when I get off this call. Thanks for the reminder.
Jenny, is it okay
Sure.
to provide just an additional suggestion? When you see those potholes along those city streets, especially on the way to work, it also helps using the SB Go app, where it connects directly with city services. And when you take a picture and you upload it with that, it has the geolocation and it tags it and it uploads it. And then you have that file and it goes right to those departments. And then you could track to make sure that your request is being submitted and processed with those city officials, as well as we do our part. So it never hurts to let more than enough people know that we want to get those streets fixed. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jody. The next question that I see here is facilities tasked with opening and locking classroom doors in coordination with academic scheduling? Yes and no, right? So with respect to the exterior doors of the campus or of academic buildings, they are all now on an electronic lock system. And so they are scheduled, the exterior, the building, and being able to enter the building is scheduled based on our academic schedule each semester. And so you will see that open and lock the exterior doors electronically. When we talk about classroom doors specifically, and Herbert, you can maybe help me out with this. I believe that custodial does do them, but not all classrooms, because we do have like the computer labs, things like that, that don't stay unlocked at all times. So
yes, correct, Jenny, you're right on that.
So you do have, our custodial teams are in your building at, I always get this wrong because grounds is a different time, 5 a.m. every
5 a.m.
morning.
Yes, 5 a.m.
And so you should see your custodians too, if you're there early. And then we have a custodial team that's here at night until 10 p.m. Let's see. Okay, what if there's a classroom that has heating or cooling issues after hours? Great question. Any after hours response for facilities, please call UPD. We have, well, a couple things. We have people in the heating and air plant all the way until 10 p.m., which is when typically most of our classes are done by that time. But if you're not able to get them, or they might be out on a call, so they might not be able to answer the phone. So if that's the case, you can call UPD. They can get a hold of us via radio if there's somebody on campus at the time. Or we always have 24/7 administrators on call. So sometimes that's me. They'll call me, hey, Jenny, this is the problem, and we can try to get working on it. And that's on weekends, holidays, and anytime before and after hours, right? So that we know that, if something's going on, you're not going to be able to learn if it's 500 degrees in your classroom. And I get it. And yeah, is there an after hours number? It's really just the non-emergency UPD number. I believe that is 75176. Is it? Let me double check that. Or can one of our team members check that UPD's after hours non-emergency? 75165, is that it? Okay. Let's see. The web TMA allows us to track whether a work order is open or closed. Is there a place to view itemized statements? I don't think so. Jody?
When asking to view itemized statements, if it's in reference to like comments or any kind of discussions or anything going back and forth, there is just a tab after the identity tab. When you have your request turn into a work order, it will say results, and will typically update any kind of work related or anything in reference to that specific task, comment and update on the process. If at any time you're not seeing any of those tracking, please just go ahead and give us a call or email us at fsc@csusb.edu. But within the work order, yes. And I am happy to always show and spend a few minutes with you if you like and give you a little detail. I know that for the EDD annual conference, for the employee development days, we are going to be partnering and having a work order session. So that will be on the menu for all of us to enjoy. And so hopefully that answers your question for now. If not, I'm happy to help you offline, anyone. So
Awesome. Thanks, Jody. Also, there's a question here, and I'm not sure I understand it, so I may need some clarification, Pamela, but could a guide be created for what facilities collaborates with when it comes to student union buildings? We can, I think, the way that things work is that student union buildings have their own maintenance and custodial team. And then really what happens, and they're under the direction of Anthony Roberson. And if there's something where they need a, maybe a skilled tradesman, maybe they need an electrician or a plumber, or it's something that their team is not able to do, then they request that of facilities management on behalf of the student union. So typically we don't get requests directly either from students or from others about this doing work in the student union. It really comes down to the union team determining when it needs to be escalated maybe to facilities management or when they just need a hand. So Pamela, I don't know if that answered your question. Okay, that's good. Okay, do we see any more? I think they're coming in both ways. So anybody else have questions? Did we get everybody's questions? You guys are amazing. It is so good to see you. I hope you met somebody new from facilities planning and management today. We are always on email and texting and Teams, and faces are important. And these people are really here to help you make sure that you don't have to think about your building. We want you thinking about the success of our students, your research, and the things that you're here to do. And so we want you not to have to think about us, but sometimes stuff breaks. And when it does, we're here, and we hope that you feel like we're ready to go for you, and that we're on it. All right, so there's another question. If we want to rent a car for a faculty member through Enterprise, is that through your website or Concur? We're just the car pickup and drop off place. So you reserve it through Concur. I think that's the answer, but Dawn?
Yeah, you can even contact Enterprise directly. It's usually a little bit easier doing it that way. But yeah, we are basically the middleman. So you set up your rental and Enterprise will bring it that day and the keys. We make sure you are who you are and have you sign the contract, and we hand you off the keys. So that's our part in it. But I would recommend contacting Enterprise directly.
Awesome. Also, just because every time I see Dawn, I think keys, because keys can be a pain point for folks on campus. So I want to just talk a little bit about keys for a moment. We have really changed the way that we request keys. There used to be like a little card that you had to sign. People had to file it. This wasn't that long ago, okay? There's a card with my name on it somewhere when I got my keys. But we're away from that now. So we have automated that process. What that means is once your key requester puts in a request on your behalf, that goes to the manager of the department where the key is giving access to. So we need to make sure that our managers, our department heads, chairs, that they know that if they get that email, you need to approve that key. We can't issue you a key until that approval is made. And so that happens. They click a link, it says approve, bang, comes to us, and we can get you that key out. So sometimes people are like, I've been waiting a week for a key. It's because the approval hasn't been done yet. And so we can reach out to that department and go, hey, can you just go ahead and approve this so that we can get this key to your person? The other thing is that we are not able to issue keys to people that do not have a Coyote ID. So that does cause a little bit of grief. And we know that, and we're trying to kind of look at those, as particularly at the beginning of the fall term, when we've got a lot of new faculty, new people coming in, we're trying to make sure that, you know, we're getting those keys out as soon as we know that, hey, the faculty's on contract, boom, we want to get them their key, because nobody wants to be trying to ask everyone else to let them in their office. That's a drag. Let's see, I think I saw, was there a follow-up question on that? Let's see, do we issue keys to official CSUSB volunteers if they have a Coyote ID and they're in PeopleSoft? I believe that we can. We try not to. We also try not to issue keys to vendors. And so, yeah, go ahead, Dawn.
A way to get around that is to have a departmental key box set up. So if you have a department key box, you can use that Coyote ID and request a key for your department. And then you can keep track of who's using and not using the key, when they're returning it, and how long they have it for. So the department will be held accountable for that key. That might be easier.
Okay. Sorry, Dawn, go ahead.
That would be easier than trying to figure out how to get a volunteer a key.
Okay. All right. I see on here, how is the key approver determined? Okay, my request sometimes goes to approvers that are unrelated to my department or the requester's department. Yeah. Unfortunately, the way the system is set up is that we have to assign a door to a department. So if you think about, I'll use Sierra Hall as an example. A common door in Sierra Hall, maybe a conference room door or something like that, doesn't really belong to any one department in Sierra Hall. So it became a little bit challenging of assigning those doors. So sometimes if you see somebody that you're like, why is this going to this person? Please call and let us know where the disconnect is, because then we can start looking at that from our side. But that's often the issue, is that there's multiple departments in the space, and it's hard for us to do. Each door can only have one owner, if you will. And so it's just kind of a little bit of a quirkiness of the system, but this is really the best system that we found, but we're certainly always looking to improve it. So definitely, if you see something that you're like, that person doesn't care if we have keys or whatever, let us know, and we can kind of work through those. Hopefully you're seeing it as the exception and not the rule. Let's see, who is the approver for the offices in Fowl Library? Good example. Fowl Library has library, right? The dean of the library. It has ombuds, it has IT, it has, Fowl Library building has a lot of different departments. And so it typically rolls up. And if you think about it as the budget manager, it follows the approvers in Concur. We use the same system for approval. And so it's whoever that budget manager, department chair, those kind of folks are. Okay, clarification, access to the outside door in Fowl Library. What you would want to do is do a key request for exterior access, and we would probably do that on your Coyote One card and not issue a hard key. To exterior doors, we're getting away from hard keys and trying to make sure that it's all electronic access for the buildings equipped and Fowl Libraries equipped. So you can put in a request for exterior door access. Typically those go to our director of facilities, is who approves like an exterior door or something like that, because it's not really owned by the department. We are now auditing keys every year. So your approver, so your managers get an email that says, hey, Jenny Sorensen has these keys. Does she still need them? And they go through, and actually Sam has done this for me, and they say, yes, she still needs these keys. Or no, she doesn't work in our department. Now she works over somewhere else and she doesn't need these keys. And so if we're reaching out to you saying, hey, we've noticed that you may not need these keys anymore, we would ask that you come back so that we can keep good track of our access for our buildings. All right. Well, this has been amazing. I can't believe this many people stayed to listen to me talk about facilities. I could talk all day, but I'm between you and lunch. So I want to give you guys time to go get lunch and have a fabulous rest of your day. So thank you. Thanks to all the team that was here with me today to help answer questions. You guys are awesome out there. I'm so, so happy that we can be of service to you and help you do what you need to get done. So thank you.